What if the royal feud was never hidden at all? What if the palace spent years dressing up for a Cold War in matching coats, forced smiles, and carefully staged balcony appearances while one person kept accidentally exposing the truth? Because the shocking part of this entire royal saga is not what was said in interviews later. It's the fact that Catherine, Princess of Wales, seemed to be telling the world everything with her face long before the headlines exploded. The palace sold the public a fantasy. The Fab Four. 2 princes, 2 glamorous wives. A modern monarchy reborn after decades of scandals and disasters. They pushed the image everywhere like it was the royal family's last chance at relevance in the social media era. But underneath those polished photo ops, something darker kept leaking through the cracks. Tiny moments, frozen smiles, eyes darting away, fingers gripping handbags like survival tools. And once you start noticing them, you can't stop. Suddenly, every public appearance looks less like a family alliance and more like 4 people trapped in a performance none of them could escape. It started with lip gloss. Lip gloss. Think about how absurd that sounds. A monarchy allegedly cracking apart over a tube of lip gloss. But sometimes the smallest moments expose the biggest truths, because people can fake speeches, fake handshakes, fake public affection, but the body reacts before the brain has time to protect the lie. February 2018, Royal Foundation Forum. Meghan Markle was about to make her first major appearance alongside the senior royals. Cameras were waiting outside. Reporters were ready to declare the future of the monarchy saved. And backstage, Meghan casually mentioned she forgot her lip gloss and asked Kate if she could borrow hers. According to Prince Harry himself in Spare, Kate grimaced, not hesitated, not paused, grimaced. That word matters because Harry chose it carefully. A visible reaction, a reflex, a flash of discomfort so immediate it slipped through royal training before diplomacy could cover it up again. And suddenly, the entire Fab Four myth starts looking shaky, because if borrowing lip gloss created visible tension backstage before the cameras even rolled, then what exactly was happening behind palace walls nobody could see? Kate eventually handed it over, but the damage was done. Her face had already spoken. Minutes later, she had to sit beside Meghan on stage, smiling for photographers while Meghan completely dominated the room. Meghan looked fearless, comfortable, almost triumphant. She spoke fluently about feminism, the Me Too movement, gender equality. She looked like someone arriving exactly where she believed she belonged. Meanwhile, Kate, heavily pregnant with Prince Louis, looked tense in a way royal observers immediately noticed. Not hostile, not dramatic, worse. Controlled discomfort, the kind people wear when they know cameras are studying every muscle in their face. And then came the line from Prince William that royal watchers still dissect to this day. He casually said the foundation should not reinvent the wheel. Nobody explained who that comment was aimed at. Nobody needed to. Suddenly, this wasn't looking like a warm welcome anymore. It looked like the beginning of a power struggle hiding beneath carefully rehearsed smiles. Meghan walked out of that event glowing with confidence, while Kate looked like someone forcing herself through an obligation she already regretted. The newspapers called them glamorous and united the next morning, but the cameras had already captured something colder underneath. Then came the wedding, the event the palace hoped would silence every feud rumor forever. Instead, it practically fed the rumors oxygen. People still remember the photograph of Kate standing near the chapel doors holding Princess Charlotte's hand because she barely looked recognizable. This wasn't the relaxed, polished Kate the public knew. This looked like exhaustion mixed with emotional restraint. She had recently given birth. William was occupied as best man, cameras were hunting her expressions like predators, and hanging over everything was the infamous bridesmaid dress drama. Different books gave different versions. Some claimed Meghan cried, others insisted Kate cried. Harry defended Meghan, biographers defended Kate. The only thing everyone agreed on was this: something happened and it was ugly enough to leave permanent scars. Look closely at the wedding footage and another strange detail emerges. During parts of the ceremony, William and Kate appeared more focused on speaking to each other than watching Harry and Meghan. Royal commentators quietly wondered why Kate looked emotionally disconnected during what should have been a joyful family moment. Because by then, this wasn't about one awkward exchange anymore. It was about accumulating tension, repeated discomfort, tiny humiliations piling up beneath the royal performance until every smile started looking painful. Then came Trooping the Colour, where hierarchy entered the story like gasoline poured onto a fire. Meghan was placed behind William and Kate. Officially protocol. Unofficially, the cameras captured captured two women who looked deeply aware of the tension between them. Meghan seemed visibly uncomfortable with the secondary position. Kate looked painfully conscious of Meghan's reaction. Neither woman seemed able to relax around the other. Their faces almost looked like they were trying not to acknowledge each other's existence while standing inches apart. And this pattern kept repeating. Different events, same strange distance, same frozen expressions, same energy of people enduring each other instead of connecting. Then came Wimbledon. Kate's happy place, the place she usually looked most relaxed, most natural, most herself, and suddenly even Wimbledon looked tense. Kate invited Meghan in what many believed was a genuine attempt at peace, but the photographs told another story entirely. Kate gripped her handbag so tightly commentators compared it to a shield at her favorite annual event. Meghan's smile looked unusually forced too, almost overcompensating. Neither woman could fully sell the friendship narrative palace aides desperately needed. Even the body language experts started sounding alarmed. And the following year, Kate brought her sister Pippa Middleton along. That changed everything, because now the invitation didn't look like friendship anymore. It looked managed, structured, buffered. Pippa became human insulation between two women who increasingly looked unable to survive public appearances alone together. Kate still appeared stiff, still clutched the handbag, still looked like someone completing a royal duty instead of enjoying herself. The contrast was impossible to ignore. Wimbledon had transformed from Kate's escape into another exhausting performance. The situation had already become impossible to hide by the time Commonwealth Day arrived in 2019. At this point, the feud rumors were everywhere. Palace insiders whispered. Reporters circled every interaction like vultures. And according to Vanity Fair, this was supposedly the moment Catherine, Princess of Wales, deliberately tried to kill the speculation once and for all. She reportedly planned a public display of affection toward Meghan Markle to prove the world had gotten it wrong. That's what makes the footage so unbelievable, because even when the palace attempted to stage peace, the tension still leaked through the cracks. Kate leaned in for the double cheek kiss. Cameras flashed. Meghan responded by putting her arm around Kate. And somehow, the entire interaction still looked awkward enough to make viewers physically uncomfortable. Not warm, not natural, not convincing. It looked like two women trying to complete choreography they had never rehearsed together. Royal commentators couldn't stop talking about it afterward because the hug didn't even fully become a hug. Meghan's arm reached around Kate, but Kate's body didn't fully return the embrace. One expert described it as an awkward grab. Think about that. The future Queen of England reportedly planned this moment carefully as a peace gesture, and the final result still looked emotionally frozen. That tells you everything. You can rehearse movements, you can arrange photographers, you can coordinate wardrobe colors, but you cannot fake genuine comfort when the relationship underneath has already collapsed. By then, the palace machine was basically trying to glue together something emotionally dead while hoping the public wouldn't notice the cracks spreading underneath the paint. And then came the polo match, the event that quietly destroyed whatever remained of the illusion. No speeches, no staged unity, just candid photographs. And somehow, those photographs said more than every interview that came afterward. Meghan arrived holding baby Prince Archie tightly against her chest while Kate focused entirely on her own children. Across an entire afternoon filled with cameras, there was reportedly not one meaningful interaction captured between the two women. Not eye contact, not conversation, not even a casual shared smile. Nothing. They looked like strangers accidentally placed beside each other at the same event. And this is where the story turns genuinely chilling, because both women were professionally trained to make people comfortable. That was part of the job. Smile warmly, chat effortlessly, perform connection even with strangers. Yet here, during a private family gathering, they appeared emotionally incapable of even pretending anymore. Meghan reportedly clutched Archie almost like a shield. Kate looked everywhere except toward Meghan. Meanwhile, Prince Harry appeared irritated throughout parts of the event. The entire afternoon radiated emotional exhaustion, the kind that comes when people have already stopped trying to fix things and are simply surviving the obligation of being near each other. By 2020, the divide had become institutional, not emotional. Institutional. Commonwealth Day that year carried explosive tension before anyone even entered the building. Harry and Meghan had already announced plans to step back from royal duties. Palace politics were reportedly boiling behind closed doors. Then came the detail that infuriated Harry. The official service document documents omitted his and Meghan's names from the Queen's procession entirely. Every program had already been printed, every seat arranged, every signal understood. According to reports, Prince William even agreed to skip the procession too, so the exclusion wouldn't look publicly humiliating. But by then, the damage was done. Then, the cameras captured the seating arrangement, and suddenly it looked less like a family gathering and more like a diplomatic ceasefire zone. Prince Edward and Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, sat physically between the two couples like human barricades. Harry kept glancing sideways toward Meghan with visible concern. Meghan's jaw looked locked tight. Kate appeared protected behind Edward and Sophie, while everyone collectively endured one final public appearance together as working royals. Nobody needed to announce the Fab Four were dead anymore. The room itself looked arranged around the reality that these people could barely tolerate sitting near each other. And then came the hardest walk of all. September 2022. Queen Elizabeth II had died. The monarchy itself looked emotionally shattered. The entire world watched Windsor Castle, waiting to see whether grief might temporarily heal years of hostility. When William and Harry appeared together with their wives outside the gates, millions interpreted it as reconciliation. Finally, people thought tragedy had brought the family back together. But according to later reports, the reality underneath was far uglier. Royal biographer Robert Jobson later claimed Kate privately admitted that walkabout was one of the hardest things she had ever done. Think carefully about how extreme that statement is. Not awkward, not difficult. One of the hardest things she had ever done. This from a woman navigating the death of a monarch, the emotional collapse of the royal family, worldwide scrutiny, and the weight of becoming future queen during a national mourning period. Yet standing beside Meghan publicly for 20 minutes ranked among the most emotionally difficult experiences of her life. That is not ordinary family tension anymore. That is years of unresolved bitterness calcified into something almost unbearable. Well, that's the strangest part of this entire saga. Meghan spoke publicly. Harry wrote books. Interviews exploded across television screens, but Kate never truly said anything. No public attacks, no emotional interviews, no dramatic memoir chapters. Silence. Almost total silence. And yet somehow her face became one of the loudest narrators in this entire royal collapse. The grimaces, the stiff posture, the handbag shields, the angled bodies, the exhausted smiles, the moments where she looked like she wanted to physically disappear from the situation while cameras zoomed closer searching for proof the feud was real. Because maybe the real scandal here isn't that the relationship failed. Maybe the real scandal is how desperately the palace tried to force the world to believe it hadn't. For years, they sold matching outfits, balcony waves, carefully timed public appearances, and staged moments of unity while the emotional reality underneath kept leaking out through expressions nobody could fully control. Every tiny crack became evidence. Every uncomfortable interaction became another clue. And by the end, the monarchy's most carefully manufactured modern fairy tale had turned into something colder, sadder, and far more revealing than anyone inside the palace ever intended the public to see.